Hey there fellas, today I'm going to teach you Choku-Dori, or more known as Manji. Now, if you've watched my previous video about the transitions, we talk full in depth about it. There's a lot of beginner tips, literally a lot of information about it. However, since there's a lot of comments about Manji itself, I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna dedicate a specific video about the Manji, and we're gonna cover a lot today, basically the different types you can do Manji. Why would you do it, for example, with Lift-Off Throttle? Why would you do it with clutch kick? And so on. And I'll give you a few examples, I'll give you a lot of heads ups, a lot of tips, and so on. So before we begin, I'll try to keep it as straightforward as possible, and we're gonna jump into each point and I'll explain everything and so on. Now, before we begin, guys, why do we do Manji? So, and what is Manji? Manji is basically, if this is the road and this is the car, you go from one edge of the road and you want to transition the car into the other edge of the road. So what exactly is going to happen is you treat the car like, think of the car as a pendulum, guys. So it's like the car is going to be dancing left, right edge of the road, right edge of the road, and your back of the car will constantly be reaching one edge of the road to the other edge of the road. And that's how you just drift through a straight line. So Manji is used on a straight road when you just want to keep drifting. Yes, it looks nice as long as it's not slow. I personally am not a big fan of very sluggish, very quick transitions. I like, if it's a very long road, either drive straight and make a very crazy reverse entry or 360 or whatever, some very cool special entry. Or if it's a long road, like in drift track, you could just go with a very big speed and shallow angle, and then again you can make up some cool entry. However, if you have a big tandem, I believe it's perfectly fine. You could go a bit slow and a bit sluggish, you know, and have the other cars behind you, and they won't be confused to straighten out, and then everybody will have a different entry. So you kind of keep the same momentum and same speed, and everybody behind you will know what's happening. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and I'll show you a few ways and a few hints when to do what and so on. Alright, so first example, guys, what I'm going to show you is we're gonna start with second gear. Now, if you have watched some of my previous videos where I've been driving on a toge or some other tracks, most likely you want to Manji a section that is obviously straight and you want to reach the next corner. So now I will show you guys basically how to begin the Manji. So we're gonna do the Manji in second gear. I'll just show you the different types of it and different ways you could just Manji the straight, and then we'll move on to third gear, a bit higher speed and a bit shallower angle so you could build up the speed. So first way is I'm gonna reach till the end of this kind of straight. There's like a very shallow corner here, but it still works, and then we're gonna turn back and I'm gonna show you immediately the Manji itself. Let's go ahead and I'll show you the first one. I think we could start with just the flick, but before the flick I'm gonna give you a bit of context. So what's the Manji? We have the straight road here, left white line, that's the end of the road here, and right white line with a curb. The goal is from this white line, this edge of the road, we're gonna transition into the other side of the road. So what happens is we drive straight, we get speed right, then we initiate to the right, and then just before we reach this white line, we want to transition. So while we are transitioning and we're shifting that weight, the back of the car needs to reach the white line, so this edge of the road. As you could see, I could literally see that I am absolutely here on the edge. So this is the goal. You want to transition earlier because you will still be sliding towards the white line there. So that's why you transition early. If you transition too late, you go on the grass, and that's the goal of it. So imagine if the white line was a guardrail, you don't want to hit the guardrail or the wall, or in this example you could see there on my left there are rocks, so you don't want to hit them. That's why once you know how much tire pressure you have, if your tires are very heated up, you're gonna slide a lot more. So everything has to be in mind, grip and so on. So since you have all this in mind, which we'll cover ahead and you already know from my previous videos, now we can begin and I will show you. Let's start with the flick. We drive towards this edge, we initiate, just before reaching this we flick, and then we flick again, and then you could flick because the corner comes in. And Then you keep going, and then you chain the whole corner here, and you could turn a bit, lift off for angle, and then modulate. Anyways, we're gonna go back now onto the straight so you could see what you can do. Again, we go back, Manji, reaching this side, flick, flick, we're back. Gonna exit here. Obviously second gear is not optimal, but we're gonna go into third gear, don't worry. Again, reaching just before we reach this side, flick, just before we reach this side, flick, and again just before we reach this side, you again flick. And you could see I'm constantly also slightly pulling to one of the sides, and I'm making massive angle to slow myself down. Don't worry, we're gonna cover angles as well. This is with a flick. So the initiation will pretty much be, guys, 90 degrees to the right or the left. So you set 90 degrees and you see, boom, big angle. So that's the first thing. We've already covered this in the flick videos, basically the feint entry, the scandal, so feel free to watch them. But I still want to give you a lot of details, so you could use these tips, you could use these details to apply them and learn. So that's basically the initiation with most of the, literally the techniques that you want to do. So most of the initiations, guys, will be like 90 degrees clutch kick while you hold the throttle, or 90 degrees, like you turn while you hold the throttle, you'll still break loose, or while you hold the throttle, you just flick it with a lot more angle, obviously. Like you could like turn close to 180, like 170, 160. Like that was probably like what? I flicked it to like, well, 150, something like this. But yeah, on the flick you definitely need a bit more to flick it, like a bit more steering degrees, because on the clutch kick you just apply a lot of power and the rear is gonna fly back, so you basically amplify the rotation of the car. While with the flick you want to basically flick the car and like you just use steering, so there will be barely any help from the pedals itself. So having this in mind, how does the lift-off Manji works? Now, why I love the lift-off Manji is because you can control the grip and the speed a lot. If I want to be in full control of the speed, I will just do lift-off. And also depends how much you lift off, guys. Now we covered the flick and we covered tons of details. So now I'm gonna go over to lift-off Manji. So basically the lift-off transitions and how do you do the lift-off Manji. And then I'll break down what's better, what's good, and so on. So we're gonna do the lift off now, and it's kind of the same stuff, guys. Again, while I'm holding the throttle, I'm just gonna give a lot of power and I'll flick it, then I lift off, keep throttle in, lift off just before to transition, lift off, and we shift the weight, lift off, shift the weight, lift off, shift the weight. And absolutely the same drill. We reach the corner and then you could hold full throttle and you steer yourself, lift off for big angle to slide more. Again, lift off transition here, and you could see what we're doing, right? So again, lift off, you could, now here's the difference, guys. When you fully lift off the throttle, that's gonna snap you into big angle. You could lift to like 20-30% or even more, and that will be just perfectly enough. The bigger you lift off, or especially if you completely lift off, you engage the engine brake, that will snap you into big angle. So full lift off is if you really want to force big angle, so the car is gonna snap. So that's basically the lift off in a nutshell. Again, we follow the same structure, the same goal, from one edge of the road to the other edge of the road. However, you could see that with the lift off, we're kind of slowing down a bit. We're not building as much speed. We want to control the speed or preserve the speed. So with the lift off, you could control, I could just let off the, basically the inertia of the car, just let the car slide on inertia, and then get back on throttle. I could literally, you see that we were sliding a ton before I even get back on throttle. Whoop, and then like look how late I can get on throttle, right? Because the car is very slidey at the moment, the tires are heated up, and we had some speed. But if you want to be quicker, obviously you could just get quick on the throttle, and like you could even before transition give throttle, and what this is going to do is you are going to amplify the rotation, so the car is going to snap to the opposite side already once you lift it off, for sure, if you have the speed, the momentum going. And if you give throttle just before the car rotates, what this is going to do is you're gonna increase the speed of the spinning momentum. So like the car wants to go into a spin, but obviously it doesn't have that much spin to just do a full circle. So just to show you exactly what I mean is, the car wants to go into a spin, right? But it doesn't have the speed. You see, it just only went to 90 degrees. That's determined of like how much speed you have, and like obviously how much momentum. But if I stay on throttle during the full transition, now the car has the momentum and the speed to even do a whole 360, right? So you get the point. And that's why usually when you lift off, you just transition with probably the same angle to the opposite side, because you're not building that much speed and you're not amplifying the speed. So that's about the spin itself, a lot of details we talked about. And now if I want to build up a lot of speed, I'm gonna do the clutch kick one. So that's what we call the throttle. I'm just gonna keep clutch kicking, but you have to be careful because you're gonna build, you see how much spin momentum we're building? I was increasing and increasing and increasing the angle, and eventually if I kept clutch kicking I would have probably spin out or went reverse entry. So you have to be careful with the clutch kick because you're sending non-stop very big amounts, very big surges of energy towards the rear wheels, and not only is that heating up the tires even more, you're losing grip, but you're building a lot of speed and the angle is going to go bigger because of all the momentum that you're building up. So watch, even though we're second gear, and I don't recommend you to bang the limiter. If you stay on second gear, you're banging the limiter, you're in a just lower gear, guys. You need to shift up. So keep in mind, I'm only using second gear for showcase. So that's about the clutch kick. You want to go as fast as possible on the Manji. This is the way. Like you could just clutch kick your way in to build up the speed. As already we talked about the different ways, lift off is more about like just keeping the momentum, and also you could use it as a deceleration to slow yourself down. Clutch kicking is pure acceleration technique. You want to build that energy up, like disconnect the drivetrain, engine builds up power, then you let off the clutch, they connect, and this big surge of energy, all the RPMs that the engine build up is sent into the rear wheels, and obviously they start to spin like crazy, and if you keep full throttle you just build up, and keep clutch kicking you just build massive speed and massive energy. You could cook up massive entries and angles. So the final thing that I want to discuss about the Manji before we change some corners and I talk, and chaining corners and stuff will be as well completely different video, and I'll talk about other stuff. What we want to talk now is about another technique that's with the handbrake, but I absolutely do not recommend handbrake to any beginner. But I still want to show it because it should be part of the video. And now, what you want to do is usually, just imagine guys, you have this part of the road, and the road was not as massively big as this. So it was just halfway. You could see this side of this half of the road is like darker, and there's like a white line in the middle. So imagine that we only have just this amount of space, right? This black asphalt here. So what we're going to do now is, I'm gonna show you sometimes how I or some drivers prefer to take some certain or specific sections of tollgates where they are very tight. So instead of doing non-stop super idiotic manjis like this, like bro, you're barely moving, right? So you're gonna keep this for like what? To 300, 200 meters, which is like crazy. You wanna get as much speed, but you also want to extend the drift as much as possible so you keep the same angle. So what we're going to do now, let me show you. We're gonna use the handbrake, but I'll show you how. So we're getting to this edge of the road here. And what we're going to do, we're on a very tight space again, and we'll have early transitions, then I'll handbrake. We're gonna build up speed, and then once we build up speed, we handbrake to extend the slide again and again. And then you reach the corner, and there you could use lift off, or you could handbrake for transition. But obviously this is what I advise you guys absolutely every single time with the handbrakes. It's a great tool for the great moment and for the right moment, and for obviously the right skill. If you add handbrake too early, when you don't have the foundation, you're going to become dependent. You're gonna build very, very bad habits. So don't do that. And now finally, because I don't want the video to be massively long, and it's already getting very long because I went out of, you know, context, but I always want to give you as much details as possible, guys, and explain as much as possible. Finally, I'm gonna show you basically on third gear how you should manage these places here, and like just how you do this full layout. But first I'm gonna warm up my tires, and then we're gonna go on the layout. Okay, tires warmed up, we're going on the big layout with third gear, and I will do just a few laps and explain and give you some situation awareness why I would do a certain thing, like why I would prefer clutch kick at certain point rather than just the lift off, so you understand. Now I needed a lot of speed, so you saw me even double clutch kicking. So that's why we need to build momentum. We just started the layout, right? So now I'm just using a bit shallow. I let the car shallow the angle so I could go wide. So we need shallow angle here as well, so we could build up speed. Just slightly left foot brake to settle the car into this angle and not allow it to straighten out. Keep the angle, pass the wall, modulating to grip up because we're sliding a ton. A bit of left foot brake to prevent the car from straightening out, and a clutch kick to basically build up speed because we lost a bit of speed there, modulating and controlling the angle of the car with the left foot brake. So now, when I want to slow down a bit or control the speed, you'll see me modulating. Now I could lift off here, and I could just clutch kick here. And now I'm just going to prepare a bit bigger angle for this section if I want to slow down. You see, just because we made the angle big and we changed where the front is looking, the bigger the angle, guys, the front is going to look towards the inside. What this is going to mean is that now the car is pulling you more towards the inside, and that's why this time we didn't get as close to the wall as the last time. Now we're very far from the corner, so I'm just going to clutch kick a lot, build up a lot of speed, so we could kind of get on this line as well. So we did manage to get that, but this time I didn't use as much left foot brake, we got tiny bit deeper. Now we see that we have tons of speed, and that's why you saw me lifting off a lot. So this time again I clutch kick, and I should have transitioned way earlier, and that's why I made the mistake and I went on the grass. I transitioned late. So it's very important to watch your tires application, guys, right there on my bottom left. When you see you're on like crazy overheated tires, like 60 psi plus, you don't want to keep basically going and doing the same things that you were doing when the tires were not heated up. When you have more grip, you can allow yourself to do transitions and things later, because you'll be able to stop. Like the grip is going to slow you down. But when I don't have the grip now, I have to transition earlier because I'm going to slide way more. The weight shift when I toss the car is going to pull me a lot, and I don't have the grip to slow myself down that much. That's why if I know how much the car is going to slide, I will transition earlier. For example, watch here. We're gonna reach this edge of the line, and I'm going to transition even before the middle of the road. Boom, and we reach exactly the curbs. So again, guys, if you want to slow down, you could use the lift off to modulate, basically control the momentum, and also slow down if you want. If you want to build speed, clutch kick like now. Boom, clutch kick, and I made way bigger angle than I needed. So now I'm going to pay the price, and I went a bit towards the inside. So I did want to get close to the wall, but my preparation for that exit was not that good. So now you understand the point is the following: whatever gets the job done. Sometimes you need to slow down, modulate the throttle very gently and smoothly, and also you could lift off. So what you'll do is you'll modulate the throttle like this very gently and smoothly, and you could do full lift off if you want to snap the angle, because the weight is going to shift forward and the back is going to snap. So full lift off will snap you and also will cause you to transition. So you could use the lift off for transition, you could use full lift off to snap the back if you need big angle. That's one of the ways. And you see I'm applying a bit of left foot brake here and there, but we're going to talk about the big layout. That's just showing you from one edge of the road to the other edge of the road, and how kinda I keep the shallow angles when I need them, when I change to big angles, and we're gonna talk more about it, but that's how it's just going to look like. So that's gonna do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you learned a lot. There's tons of information, tons of tips that you could get from these videos. I don't want to shorten and cut the videos to non-stop being jump scenes. I'd rather keep them like this. Not many people watch the full video probably, but I'd rather keep all the details and the quality information in the video and keep it long. It's supposed to be educational video, it's not supposed to be entertainment, so it's non-stop jump scenes, you know what I mean, guys? So I decided to make this sacrifice. I know the videos are long, but I definitely believe that you need all the details, all the tips and all this information, and it does take time to showcase and describe. So there's no way I can pack this video in 5 minutes, unfortunately. I really hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned, and wish you all the best. We'll see you in the next video, fellas.